Hello. At 8 o'clock, we'll be bringing you November's Tonight at 8 webinar, Improving Speech Clarity with DSP. But first, the annual British Science Week is a great way to promote our hobby to a wider audience, including encouraging young people. At the RSGB convention a few weeks ago, I met the Society's Science Week coordinator, Ian Neal, G7IGN, where we looked back at this year's activities, including a clip from former President John McCulloch GI4BWM's review, which showed Scouts getting involved in radio, as well as looking at lots of other ideas and initiatives like Bracknell ARC, who have boosted their membership and new licensees by working with their local men's sheds. Let's take a look. I'm with Professor Ian Neal, M0KEO, who's the RSGB British Science Week coordinator. Hello, Ian.
Hello, David. Nice to see you.
And good to see you. So tell us, what is Science Week really all about, in case somebody watching hasn't seen it?
Okay. British Science Week is an event set up by the British Science Association, which is a national umbrella organisation. The RSGB works with them to fit in with some of the things they do, because clearly ours is a sciencey kind of subject. It fits in largely with the STEM curriculum, which is science, technology, engineering and mathematics in schools. And that's led us to a little bit of a problem, but I'll come back to that in a moment if I may. Much of the work that we do as the RSGB fits very closely in with schools. We try to get youngsters involved in doing radio, introducing them to it. We do things like do some Morse keys, you know, the little snail Morse keys that we can set up, and then they can send their name to each other and maybe get a certificate as a result of it. But actually just showing them the kit that we have is really good. To give a couple of examples, the Bishop Auckland Radio Amateurs Club, Barrack, up in my neck of the woods, they spend the whole week going round primary schools, demonstrating things to them, showing them how things work, and it's really very exciting for the youngsters. They get enthused by it, and it's really good. It's really good.
I'll tell you what, before we hear what's coming in the future, let's have a look at a video that looks back at this year's activities from the RSGB. Here we go. This is about 1:22.
I'm very supportive of British Science Week, which is a celebration of science, technology, engineering and maths. It's a great vehicle to get schools and people of all ages involved in STEM and radio-related events. The RSGB is an official partner of British Science Week 2025, and fantastic to see us having an official amateur radio activity included in their community pack. In another fantastic development for this year, the RSGB outreach team has partnered with the Radio Communications Foundation to provide FM radio receiver kits for 15 schools, university, scout and youth groups to build. I was fortunate to get the opportunity to visit Marlborough Scout Group as they took part in building these kits, and you can see just how popular the activity was. This is more great outreach in action. What we hope is that the taste of today has given you a thought of what you might do in the future. Get into amateur radio, or perhaps into a career in the electronics.
CQ40, CQ40, Golf Bravo 2.
The Scouts also enjoyed operating under supervision.
Mike Alpha Romeo calling CQ on.
Oh, it's a really interesting video, Ian, looking back at what we did this year.
Indeed.
So continue please telling us about what we think we can do, particularly as part of this wonderful week of science for youngsters.
Okay, that's super. Of course, there's a whole lot more, as well as those. There's a whole lot of reports and things like that that are available in the June and July this year's Radcoms. So there's a couple of double-page spreads of what's happened, as well as what you've just seen. So loads goes on. I tend to do things with secondary schools. So, for example, I've set up a club. We've got some more foundation license holders as a result of those, and many people do similar sorts of things. But and with under Ben Lloyd's work and his outreach group, he's appointed some youth champions who are specialising in schools, in youth groups, girl guiding, scouts, cadets, those sorts of things. So there's a lot goes on under the British Science Week banner. I'd like to suggest, though, that there is far more to it than merely working with schools. That's important, really important, but actually we could do so much more than just working with schools. It's not just for youth. And what I'm suggesting this year is that the special interest groups can get involved with British Science Week by showing things off to some of their people. Some of the work that, for example, Bracknell Amateur Radio Club did with the Men's Sheds organisation. That came out of last year's British Science Week campaign, and it was a really very exciting setup where we could put the two together. They did some really good work with the Men's Sheds group, which is a great organisation in itself, but they could then show the guys what could be done, and so on, and they opened their doors as well to that. So open days, we can do open days too. Just bringing the idea of amateur radio out to the rest of the people who haven't yet come across it, and that's not just youngsters; that is everybody involved too. Other things that we can do, that's all sort of club activities that can be done, and clubs do tend to do a lot of hard work for this British Science Week there. However, as an individual, you can perhaps get involved as well. So individuals, for example, could just show their family their shack. I don't know how you started in amateur radio. I started with my godfather when I was 8, and left the interests behind for a little bit after I left school, and got married and so on and so forth. Now I've got back into it, and so now I'm showing the family what can be done, and they're really interested. My new grandson, who is only a month old at the moment, so shout out to him. Yes, yeah. I've already got his name down for doing a foundation exam in some years' time. That's a bit of a joke, obviously, but I will be showing him what can be done. Those sorts of things are really, really important, because apart from anything else, it shows your family what you do. One of the things I've recommended in a forthcoming article I've written for Radcom is that you could show them from exactly what happens and explain exactly what happens from the microphone through to the antenna, and then back again, and explain it at each point. That's something that people are interested in, and you see the magic of radio actually happening, and that's important, I think, for people. And it also explains why you're going out into the shack from time to time for some hours at a time. So that's the sort of things we can do. It's not just for schools, it's not just for clubs working with adult groups, other adult groups. It's also for individuals to get involved with this British Science Week idea. The British Science Association, who, as I said before, lead on the whole thing, their tagline is smashing stereotypes, and they have a strong view that what we need to do is smash the idea that the stereotype that science is just for people with
geeky things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can and actually it's ordinary people involving themselves in science. So there you have it. A couple of suggestions for you. People are always fascinated when they're shown of what we do, and there is a certain magic about hearing something. And I'd like to suggest that actually a mobile phone actually will do a better job than our transceiver under some circumstances. But they're nothing like as impressive, are they? I mean, our rigs I don't know what yours is like, but my rig has lots of flashing lights on it. It has lots of meters going backwards and forwards in response to my voice and so on, and response to the other end's voice. That's impressive stuff. That really drags people in. And what I would suggest to people is, don't just think, well, actually this is something that's a bit too difficult for people. Just showing, look, the meter's moving and the other person's voice is controlling that, and just think what is that all about?
Yeah.
The tiny little whispers in space that are coming through to us.
Because we've probably never lived in a more technological age, really, where science and technology are around us all, even whether we like it or not. I'm particularly interested, but there's so much of it around.
Yes.
And it maybe just, as you say, we shouldn't just focus on young people, although they're very important for it.
Absolutely.
They're inquisitive, but also older people are going to be interested in how this little wonderful little tiny mobile phone works. And my own club, Norfolk Amateur Radio Club, we use that there's a science festival in Norwich every year, and we put on a display. And actually what we did this year, which was different, we bought an old iPhone for about £15 on eBay. We carefully took it apart, and we also took a cheap handheld transceiver, one of these Chinese transceivers, and put that on a display, and we put them both on rotating things and compare the two.
Yes.
And actually, you know, it's surprising you can make a relationship between those two things and show where the aerial is inside the iPhone, which is kind of hidden away, whereas on most of our handheld portables it's a bit more obvious.
Top, yes.
But we were just trying to make the relation and make that connection. Do you think that's a good way forward?
I do think that's a good way forward. One of the things we always say in education is go from the known to the unknown. Now, the known at the moment is actually the mobile phone. Everybody knows how a mobile phone, well, they think they know how a mobile phone works. But the unknown bit is this quite old technology of radio. And that's something that's really quite exciting to do. And of course, you know, you can even work your washing machine by radio now.
I know. We bought a fridge just I must get this off my chest, because we bought a fridge though a few minutes ago. Honestly, we didn't see and notice that it was connected and things, but it has got, when we powered it up, we realised it had that little sort of symbol that you see on Wi-Fi.
Yes. And
it's got Wi-Fi built in. You can have a look at how cold your temperature is as it reaches temperature. I think, you know, so it is literally around everywhere, whether you like it or not, isn't it? And this is a great, surely, hook to get people interested in our hobby.
It is indeed. And there's so much opportunity. All people need to do is actually take that step and saying, look, come and see my rig. Come and have a look at it. Let me explain what goes on. We all know how it goes on, because we have to in order to get licensed, so we know what it is. The other thing I would suggest is, don't get too technical, because getting too technical can really frighten people off. If you start talking about propagation and the effect of sunspots and things like that, well, some people might be interested in that, but don't go too fast on that, because otherwise you will frighten people off, and they think, oh, I can't do this, and you know, all I can do is talk to somebody at the other end. The other thing is, don't knock FT8 and FT4 too hard, because you're almost guaranteed to get some QSOs over FT4 and FT8, aren't you? Whereas nobody likes to see somebody shouting down a microphone, CQ, 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 and getting nothing back at all, which is what can happen.
It can
quite often
in a demonstration.
And they say, well, nobody's coming back to us. Whereas actually, with FT8 and similar, you can get a map up, and you can see where that person is, and you can see where they are at the other end, and you can see what their signal strength is. In numbers, you can more or less understand, and that's a really good, I find, a really good hook to get people involved.
Good, yeah. So let's look forward then to 2026.
Yes.
It's in March. I think the dates have already been set.
They have already been set, and if I knew what they were, I could tell you.
You know, I had it, and I've just lost it.
I've just lost it. Yes.
It is. It's the 6th to the 15th of March, 2026. So, and I believe there's a lovely web page on the RSGB website where you can get much more information as well to help.
We do. Yes, we do. There's two places you can go. You're looking forward to 2026. There's already a web page set up, so you can see what.
Is that rsgb.org/BSW?
BSW. That's exactly right. Okay. But you can also look back at some of the resources we've put forward. So quite a lot of the resources are in place, are still in place from last year and previous years. So you can see some of the things we've done, and things like lesson plans are up there about, you know, so you don't even have to come up if you're a teacher. and you're going in to do a session, you don't even have to set up your own lesson plans. There's some samples already done for you, and some risk assessments and those sorts of things. And also I'd commend to you those pages in Radcom, because they explain. Norfolk Radio Club has an article in there about what you did there, and that gives some ideas. The tricky bit I find is getting people to come up with ideas in the first place, because people inevitably think, well, I'm interested in this, but I don't think anybody else would be. Well, they would. They really would, and get them in through the doors with just an open day, or as I said, just get your friends and family coming in through the door. That will start the ball rolling.
Brilliant. And this year, I think for the first time, you were actually put forward one of the experiments that was adopted, wasn't it?
That was yes, for 2025 it was adopted, and therefore it went out. Well, it's British Science Week, but actually it goes further than that. It goes right around the world.
Yeah, it inspires many other groups, I'm sure, in other countries. Yeah,
it really does.
Good.
Yeah. And this year, this coming year, 2026, the theme is curiosity. Now, you can't get much more open than curiosity. That's what we need to tap into.
Lovely job. Well, if you've got some ideas at home as well, there is an email address which you're now going to put on the screen as well, where you can contact Ian and his team to add ideas. You may have had successful events that your club or you as yourself has put on. Do share them with others, because it really helps you in the event.
It really does. It really does. We try to keep that up to date, so that if as soon as anybody sends something in to me to say, we've got this event planned, that will go on the website, and it'll probably go in Radcom a bit later on too. And that means you, again, get some ideas, so keep reading those. And if you've got an idea, please send it in.
Absolutely. Ian Neal, M0KEO, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And that interview was recorded a few weeks ago at this year's RSGB convention. And as we said, it's not too early to start thinking about next year's British Science Week in March 2026. For more details on British Science Week and how to get involved, please visit rsgb.org/BSW. Tonight's live webinar, Improving Speech Clarity with DSP, starts very shortly. Hello and welcome to Tonight at 8 from the RSGB. Digital Signal Processing, or DSP, can really help clean up audio to make it much clearer, not just to help copy distant or noisy contacts, but also to make amateur radio more accessible for those with hearing loss. Long-time experts in the field of DSP noise cancelling technology is the British company BHI, and tonight we have with us its founder and managing director, Graham Somerville, M3ZGS, to tell us more. Welcome to Tonight at 8, Graham. Could you give us a quick overview of what you'll be going to talk about this evening?
Yes, thanks very much for allowing me to chat to you all about our wonderful technology. I'm going to do a bit of an intro into BHI Limited and how we came to be, a bit of history there, a bit about the types of DSP noise cancelling technology that was available to get us where we are. And then I'm going to do a brief intro into the sort of products we do, and some of the questions people will be asking or thinking about is, which product would suit their application, how will it help me hear more clearly, and then touch on our commercial stuff a little bit, and then hopefully then do a nice sound file demo here so you can actually hear the difference, and then take any questions for people that have them.
Okay, Graham, well, we look forward to it. Thank you. Before we start, if you're watching this on Monday, the 3rd of November, then this is live, and you can ask questions or make comments on either YouTube chat or BATC messaging at any time during the presentation or straight afterwards. Please include your first name and your call sign, if you have one, within every message. And note that you can make this video stream fill your screen on most devices, usually by double-clicking on the picture or pressing the full screen button. So now, let's go back to Graham to find out more about the world of digital signal processing.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Well, BHI was founded in April 2002, and having got made redundant from a previous position, it seemed like a good thing to do at the time. So we came up across a product that we'd been looking at before the company was basically founded, which was the NES 10.2 noise cancelling speaker, and we launched that at the Epsom Rally in June 2002. And me and a colleague that was with me at the time stood on our booth for 2-3 hours with people going past, didn't know who we were, and then finally one gentleman had been back a few times and asked how much the speaker was, and we said, oh, it's £99, and he said, I'll give you 50. And this happened about 3 times, and we still hadn't sold anything. Anyway, he came back for the 4th time, and that was it. We made our first sale at the Epsom Rally. Not long after that, we then found that Waters and Stanton were the main UK dealer at that time, and we went to see them, and we went into their shop, and by the time we'd come out the other side, they tested the speaker and gave us an order. We then sort of grew from there into a number of countries. And one of the things we found that was difficult, which you'll all probably understand, communication is the key. So I sent lots of emails initially to the various dealers around the world that were selling amateur radio. And I didn't get any replies. So I think, well, what shall I do? So, well, I phoned them. I phoned the Australian dealer, and he picked up, and I had a nice chat, and he placed an order. And basically, because I was talking to him, communicating, that's how we did it. We literally grew our business to now with worldwide dealers in over 20 countries. And we're still adding new dealers. Even now, this year, we've added a couple of extra ones. We've got another one in Australia and Portugal. And yeah, it's going well. So we mainly sell into the amateur radio market and sort of shortwave listening, but as a side thing, we do now sell into commercial markets, and it does actually represent around half our turnover, but that's grown from being totally amateur radio in the beginning. That leads us into types of noise cancelling. Well, most people will know or heard of Dolby noise reduction systems. They were developed in the early 60s, and basically it was a sliding band system, and what they were able to do was compress the dynamic range of the whole signal, which meant that you could compress the noise, and then during playback they expanded it, and it dramatically reduced the sort of effect of hiss and noise you'd get in your audio, which was great. So that led them to be able to sort of make a mass market sales of their noise cancelling, and I think they're still selling heavily today. You see the Dolby name everywhere. Following on for that, you had some other types of noise cancelling. One of them is a dynamic noise reduction system that was introduced in '81 by National Semiconductors. And effectively it was to sort of reduce line noise in long distance telephony. And it worked quite well. You got about 10 dB of noise reduction, and it improved the audio in long distance telephony. It was just a playback system, but it worked and did a good job. Following on from there, you've got the one type of noise cancelling that everyone knows is active noise reduction, or ANC, and basically the audio signal you get contains unwanted noise. So let's say you're sitting on an aeroplane or a noisy train and you put the headphones on. If you don't turn the noise cancelling on, you can hear all the background noise and hiss. And what happens is the unwanted noise in the noise cancelling headphones is analysed to identify its frequency and amplitude. The anti-noise signal is then generated and passed through in an opposite phase to the unwanted noise. And what happens is the anti-noise signal is then added to the original audio and it cancels out because it's inverted. And so, you know, when you're listening to a video, you know, a film on a plane, it does make a big difference to the enjoyment you get listening to music and that on an aeroplane. We sell a couple of different pairs of those, and they go quite well. So BHI DSP technology, that's interesting. We go back to sort of 2002 when we first started, and we had a DSP chip that I sort of inherited from where I was working before BHI was set up, and it's effectively a special chip that works in real time in the time frequency domain. What's happening is signals with modulated speech are passed through and they're identified. So when we all speak on the tops and the bottoms of the frequencies, you can see there is about 0.6 hertz of modulation if the signal's got speech. So what happens is the technology is very clever. It can pick those signals that has that modulated waveform on. And because it knows the frequency of the specific signal that the modulated waveform is in, it stores those in what we call frequency bins. So as you're speaking and there's lots of noise, it stores all this up in real time. And then what happens is the clever filter is able to say, well, that's speech and that's noise. And so from about 9 to 40 dB, you can remove the noise. So the clever thing is the speech is always passing through, but you decide whether you want all the noise or some of the noise or no noise to be reduced to improve your signal. Because of how it works and how clever it is, you get virtually no distortion of the speech signal, and even residual sounds sound natural. It's sort of self-adapting as well. So with a changing noise environment you get in amateur radio and outside, you know, it will change and it will gradually keep letting the speech through and remove the noise. So over the years, you know, people that have bought our products do ask the same question. You do get some sort of artifacts because, you know, there's always the top end of something that, you know, where it will work or will struggle a little bit. And our DSP, if you have a very weak signal and a lot of noise, then you know you can get some watery effects that come with that, and the sound or the speech can sound a little bit odd. But the key thing is here is that you can still hear and understand the speech. So you just decide, well, you know, I can still hear the speech, I'll put up with that. Or if you turn the filter down a bit, you can sort of back off and have a bit more residual noise. And that's what, you know, people tend to do. Here you can see on this graph, you've got sort of alternative technology that's been around. You can see that BHI technology works across the whole frequency range, sort of about 50 hertz to about 4.8, 4.9 K, 4.9 K. And what that means is you don't get distortion of the speech that you can do in other systems. If we go to the next slide, you'll see another type of alternative technology where in order to remove the noise, they've cut different pieces of the speech out, and it can leave the speech slightly sort of robotic and not as clear as it should be. So, you know, that's a brief insight into the noise cancelling technologies. On our website, there is a technology page, and you can find more about that there. And, you know, if you want to know more about how the noise cancelling works, you can always drop us a line, and we're more than happy to give you some more information about that. So our DSP noise cancelling products use that technology to remove noise and interference, to leave the speech clearer and more intelligible for you, so you can hear what's being said, especially if it's a weak DX station. Now, it's especially useful for people with hearing loss, because obviously with hearing loss and all the hiss and noise and background going on, if you can remove that, you're then getting to a point where, well, actually, I might be able to hear because it's just the speech. So that's been a big piece of feedback over the last sort of 20 odd years, really. You know, to some point, people have sort of said, well, I wouldn't be able to do the hobby. So I guess the question we get asked very commonly at exhibitions and shows is, which one's right for me? And so we sort of started putting together, and we've got some flow charts and selection guides that will help. But the main question is, if you have a radio and have a lovely extension speaker, then it's sort of pushing you towards one of our inline units or ParaPro EQ20 DSP units. They can be used, you know, with your extension speaker and headphones as well. If you don't have an extension speaker, then that's sort of pushing you down the route of, well, maybe I'll just have a noise cancelling speaker. And we've got a couple of those. And we've even got a retrofit module you could actually use and buy yourself or get yourself an extension speaker and fit that in. So moving on to our most popular product. This was the first product we did that we actually launched at the Epsom Rally, which was the Mark 1. And it's a DSP noise cancelling speaker. I guess it's quite difficult to see how big it is with pictures and that, you know, comparison. So this is the little speaker. It's got a little headphone socket on the side. You have a 3.5mm mono jack plug, 2 meters long, and then you have a power socket at the rear, and there's a filter select whole sort of switch there, and you just press in the filter button that comes with it, and then you just power the unit with 12 volts with the fused lead. And off you go, really. The controls are on the top of the speaker, and it's almost like a plug and go speaker. It's actually got 5 watts audio, this Mark IV, whereas in the old days they were sort of just about 2 watts. And of course, it's quite compact and rugged, so you could use it mobile or base station. But even after sort of 23 years, it's our most popular product. Moving on, we've got our desktop Mark II. This is a larger sort of base station speaker. 10 watts audio, it's got a bass and a tweeter in it, and it works with most radios and receivers, including SDR. It's got a separate volume and filters controls here, and a headphone socket there. And at the rear, you can see you've got 4mm plugs for putting in the audio lead for sort of standard 4 ohm, 8 ohm output. But there's also a line level input, and that proves quite useful if you have, you know, SDR or speaker level audio and you want to connect from the front of your radio because it may be in a big setup in your shack, and that's proved quite useful for that speaker. 12 volts DC operation again. It weighs about just sort of 2 kilos boxed, and so we'll go Royal Mail, if you know, which is quite good. On to the next one. So we were talking about which products you would like. This is one of our inline units, and this is called the dual inline, and it's basically, we call it a dual inline because we're making use of our latest technology, which is like a dual channel noise cancelling. The speakers don't have that, although they've got the same chip and the noise cancelling is the same. But with these units, you can actually have 2 separate inputs, and you can sort of separate and I'll put that a bit nearer to the screen. There you go. So that's the front panel, and you've got like a separate and sort of there combined, and you can combine the signals. It's probably what we call our fully featured inline unit. Now the connections are on the side there, you can see, and they're 3.5mm stereo, and then there's a 3.5mm mono on the side there for a loudspeaker. So you've got a 7-watt, actual 7-watt mono loudspeaker output on the unit, separate line level input and output, and a separate headphone amplifier. So it's quite a useful unit if there's a number of you wanting to listen to a signal either in a competition or a DXing or a club station, because you could effectively have someone listening out of the extension speaker socket. You can have someone with headphones, and then you can even have a separate pair of headphones out of the line out. So, it's quite a useful product to have if you're trying to show people, youngsters, the benefit of noise cancelling. We have another unit here we call our inline module. This is probably the newest one we've done. Now this one is just a mono unit, but we still use the same DSP. It's almost like a sort of plug and go unit again, because effectively you would have the inputs and outputs on the front end here, and a headphone output and power, and then the controls here on the front for operating the noise cancelling. And this one we find people tend to sit on the top of their extension speaker or next to it, as it doesn't take a lot of room in the shack. There is a separate little control here, which is like a preset where my finger is. We send them out factory set, but it does allow you to increase the volume if you want a bit more oomph. The reason we set them in the factory for the levels we do is that with all these things, some of them have got a bypass switch. So when the power's off, the audio's bypassed through, and so you're listening at your normal radio's volume. What you don't want is when you turn the power onto the unit, you don't want it to sort of blow your ears off. So you just have to bear that in mind when you're adjusting the little volume potentiometer there. It's quite a compact little unit. Again, 3.5mm inputs and outputs. Got an audio overload, and it's quite compact. On to the next one. Now this one, our compact inline, is our only battery held unit. At the time we developed it, we were looking at battery technology, and we went we went with this unit. You can use 2 AA batteries, either alkaline, or you could charge up to nickel metal hydrides, keep them recharged. This is a very lightweight and compact unit, and we found that it's actually been quite popular with the shortwave listening people, because it's very portable. Put the batteries in. The batteries fit in a little cover there that you undo the screw and fit them in. And all the controls are like on the front, and they're rotary encoders. So everything's sort of there for you to sort of not worry too much, almost like a plug and play unit again. And as you can see how sort of compact it is and small, it's horses for courses with these things, but it just gives different people different options with the units. In fact, as a side, a few years ago, the local technical support unit of the police borrowed one of those units because they had a specific job where they wanted to listen to what was going on in some crime environment, and that was quite nice to have let them use that unit. Right, this is our sort of blue chip top of the range unit that we brought out. And there's sort of a bit of a story with this one that I'm sure you might be interested in. So, because a certain gentleman, Giles Reed, who's no longer with us, bless him, he spoke with me at a Newark rally quite a few years ago. And I was telling him that we'd had a request for customers to have a tone control. And I said, I'm thinking about this unit. And he said, you don't want to do that. He said, you want to get a parametric equaliser. I said, well, what's one of those, Joe? I said, well, it's great for people with hearing loss or harder hearing as well. And it allows you to do this and this. And I said, well, okay. We looked into it and we came out with this unit. So here you have this 20 watt audio unit with a parametric equaliser. Now what this unit does, it allows you, the user, to move the center frequency of what you're listening to by using the controls. Now, I'll get the unit there in front so you can see it. So at the top, you have the bass and the treble, and below you have the attenuation buttons for each of those controls. What that allows you to do is boost or attenuate the signal. Now, where this comes into for people with sort of hearing issues, you know, and hearing loss, is you can boost the speech at the frequency that you've got loss. Now, for me, I've got my hearing aids in tonight. I wear them all the time now. My loss is about 1.2 kilohertz. And having that unit on and boosting that frequency does make a big difference to me. There are times when I don't use it, and it's like if you've got some speech you're listening to, but there's a tone that's just either left or right of that speech, you can use the same frequency and attenuations to actually go minus 10 dB and attenuate the signal that's annoying you to lift the speech. So it's not just a noise canceller, which you know, it has the DSP noise cancelling, and it also helps you to do the other thing, you know, improve the audio. How most people use it and how I use it is I tend to sort of get the noise cancelling in, which is the let me go back to that. The red control there, you're able to turn that clockwise to increase the noise cancelling. Clean up the noisy audio. Once you've done that, you can then play with the parametric equaliser controls to boost the signal to get it the best you want. And of course, like all our products, the noise cancelling works in real time. And as you know, the noises continuously change. You might go to a different channel, different station, and you can just adjust it on the fly, really. This unit has got a lot of flexibility. See, on the rear, you can see you've got channel 1 input, channel 2 input, or stereo. So you can have 2 separate radios or a stereo signal in. And then on the outputs, you've got either like banana plug inputs, or you've got phonos. You know, you're able to sort of select what you want to use. You're all going to laugh now. Will you bear with me? My cat's just come in the cat flap, and you probably heard it. I'm just going to go and let him out.
Well, with that, and
apologies for that, gentlemen.
I don't think we've ever had a cat interruption before, but just as a reminder that if you are watching this live on Monday the 3rd of November, please do ask questions or make comments, or if you've used Graham's products, and do share them with it, particularly if you've maybe got a problem with hearing yourself and you found them really useful. Do get ready to share them. But anyway, back to Graham. I think he's rescued himself from the cat. Back to you.
Yes, it wouldn't have been good, because she would have started making noises, and you know that could have spoiled everything. Bless her. Talking about the parametric equaliser, we decided to make it a very comprehensive unit. So you get a whole range of accessories, which is all the leads, banana plugs, power leads, adapters. So you don't have to think, oh, I've got this unit, you know, like you do with some bits of kit. Oh, I've got to buy this cable, that cable. You know, you get all the accessories with it. The unit, the top of the range unit, has Bluetooth. Now that is Bluetooth on the input. So if you do have a Bluetooth enabled radio, and there are a few amateur radio transceivers that do have Bluetooth, you will be able to Bluetooth to the unit without cables, and then you know, you could then make use of the speakers connected at the back. One thing I would say is you have to have separate speaker connections. You can't have any ground of either side, so you couldn't have a speaker system where the grounds were connected. It has to be 2 separate passive speakers. Most people tend to just have the one channel in, one channel out, but people with two radios, you could effectively have one speaker left, one speaker right, and at the front with the select button here, you could select stereo, so you could have both on at the same time, or if you're only listening to one radio, you could listen to one and not the other. We do get asked about Bluetooth on the output because a number of you have got Bluetooth headphones. What we say is at the moment we found one of the reviews that was done in one of the magazines, I think it was Radcom, you can get these Bluetooth transmitters from Amazon, and it's £20, and that will fit nicely in the headphone socket at the front of the unit, and then you could connect to your Bluetooth headphones that way, which is quite useful. So moving on, this is our installation module. Now this module started back in 2003 as the 1061. We've now used our latest technology and it's about the same size, but we've sold this into thousands of FT817s. That's the most popular. And there's quite a few people out there are still using them with the filtering. And effectively, this module fits in the low-level audio path of your radio, and you just have power, ground, and the signal to connect. It's not a complicated install, although it's advised that you do it with someone with a technical background, because you do have to normally remove a surface mount decoupling capacitor to fit the audio in. Although there's a gentleman recently installed one, I think in an old Drake unit, and he's really happy with how it's working. And as you can see on the slide, there's a whole range of different radios that it goes in, and people are contacting me all the time and asking me, will it fit in my radio? And I say to them, send me the schematic, and we have a look and we say, yes, we think it'll fit here, and we work a plan and see if we can't get it in the radio. The caveat I always say with the install modules is that once it's in your radio, that specific radio, you can't use it with any other radio. And it may be worth thinking about the little NES 102 Mark IV speaker or the other speaker or another unit in that instance. Moving on, the other install product we do is what we call the 1962 KBD. Now this product, you can see from the slide, retrofits inside your loudspeaker, effectively turning it into a DSP noise cancelling speaker. I have one here, I can show you. It comes pre-wired, it's not big, but with a full installation kit with like mounting pads and cable ties, and effectively though, all you're doing is you're literally going into your speaker, cutting the input and the output and connecting these two in, and then you're drilling a hole, which you can see from the slide, in the back of your speaker and connecting the power. And then there's a template for drilling the holes for this. So it's not a massively complicated job, but it's quite a nice little project. And then you suddenly turn your speaker into a noise cancelling speaker. It allows you to make use of the filters. You might have a number of different filters on your extension speaker at the front. Where this is wired in, it means you don't have to use it, because it's got a bypass feature. So you could turn off the BHI unit and just keep using your speaker as normal. Once a noisy signal comes in, then off you go with the module. Next slide. I'll briefly mention the commercial products, because it's sort of where we sort of started in the commercial side. So basically we've got some PCB modules, and some of these are relevant to amateur radio and for helping people improve their audio. Several customers have used this module to put inside their old Drake radios and similar sort of age radios to improve the speech, because they've been quite noisy with no DSP. Applications of our products, as you can see, have become quite wide now. Amateur radio, shortwave listening, scanners. and CB. What I would say with scanners and CB is, because our product works in real time, when you first start listening, you get like a shh noise, and then the noise cancelling kicks in. If you're using a scanner or CB radio, you would tend to keep hearing that noise. So we always recommend that you have the noise cancelling off until you say find the station that you want to listen to for a while. Then you click the noise cancelling off, and it just stops that sort of effect where the noise cancelling keeps trying to work and remove the noise from the signal. So yeah, PMR radio, base stations, marine radio, and intercoms. With the intercoms, that was something we started in 2008, and it's relative to amateur radio because we got a phone call from the Cromwell Hospital in London, and he was an amateur radio enthusiast working as a technician, and basically they couldn't use this brand new scanner they'd got from America because the intercom needed to be noise cancelling so they could hear the patient if they were stressed. So we turned up and we can do that, and literally within about 3 weeks we designed an intercom, and since 2008 until present day we've been working with the same company in America selling noise cancelling intercoms, and they're fitted to cancer treatment machines, so it's quite nice to know that you're helping someone if they're stressed and improving them to be understood. Very briefly, Spanish air control, we've got a systems there. They bought our noise cancelling. Some of you know about the 24-hour Le Mans. Our units, our circuit boards have been designed into picture car radio comms, weighing station intercom applications, and other medical scanners. So and a lot of this is as a result of amateurs who work in industry, which is interesting. So one of the reasons people buy our products is because they can't hear what's going on, and as we all get older, I think our hearing loss is gradual and like with mine. So that's one of the key things about our noise cancelling. When you remove that noise, it's giving you the opportunity to hear and enjoy your hobby more. And here are some good testimonials, and the first one was from a gentleman called Mark Haberfield in the United States. He said, "I can hear better, weak stations come in much clearer, I have diminished hearing, and the new unit makes listening much easier. I'm very impressed." And we've got a number of those testimonials, so I just thought I'd put that slide up there just to let you know that we're not saying our products are the best thing since sliced bread. Other people are. We have accessories that make your products a bit easier to use. I briefly mentioned those. You've got the switch box that allows you to connect up to 6 radios. So you've got one noise cancelling unit, you can have 6 radios connected. There's a 2-way mini switch, allows you to connect 2 radios. And I guess one of the other questions people get in, ask us, being honest, is when I transmit, I can hear my voice coming back. Now, our products are just audio, and we do the maximum we can to make them RFI immune. But, if you're living in a flat or you haven't got your setup quite right, when you transmit, you could get a bit of breakthrough, and that will manifest itself, as you know. There's also a thing called earth-ground loops. So, there are ways to sort of remove these things by using like a separate power supply. But the ground breaker unit we did there on the screen, that's just an audio isolation transformer. And these instances, you just connect one of those in and the problem sort of goes away if you aren't able to solve it because of your location and where your station is set up. The other accessories are the extension speakers that you can use with your inline units you get from us. And we've got some headphones. I think we've had those for a few years now, and we've done a number of promotions with the RSGB, and hopefully we'll do some more of those in the future with them. Right, that's enough of me waffling on. I'm going to do a demonstration. So basically, I've got our desktop speaker, and I'm going to hold it up, and then I'm going to play you a sound file. So this is a recording. I haven't got a radio on, someone, but it's a live recording. So here we go.
So Graham, can I just ask you, are you switching the effect in and out there? Are you? Sorry, Graham. I was just going to ask, just for benefit of everybody at home, you're switching the noise cancellation in and out there, are you?
Yes. So let me explain that. So what I've got here on this desktop speaker, I've got the volume here, and then the push button here on the side. I'm turning the noise cancelling on and off. You'll see that the LED goes red to green. So and then when I rotate the filter, you'll hear a tone that's rising and falling. That is me turning the filter up and down. So let's try that again. I'm always being told my explanations should be a bit more concise. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's true. David doesn't always see his emails sort of within a couple of days. That's what I thought.
There you go. That's basically, it's quite difficult to do it over a Zoom, but I think you get the gist of how it works, and I think a few of you would have seen me at the various rallies, Newark and that. So that's my little presentation. I was a bit nervous about doing it because I haven't done as many of these before, and I've never done a Zoom presentation. But I really thank you all for tuning in and listening. I hope it's been interesting and useful, and you found a bit more about our products and how they work and what they do. But I'm here now to take any questions from you.
Okay, Graham, thank you very much. And the demo worked really well, actually. It was a bit loud. I've got an earpiece because of the way we do the production here, and that was rather loud in my ear. But certainly the effect of you switching on your DSP was very clear as well. So to everybody at home who's watched that, I'm sure enjoyed it, and we already got quite a few people already use your products. But this is a great opportunity to talk to the founder of this company, who's obviously made a big impact into the market. And then maybe if you've got a particular challenge, not just, we all want to work those weak DX stations, but if you have got particularly hearing loss problems, or maybe you're sensitive to some types of hearing, this is a great opportunity to be able to ask Graham about whether his products might help you. So do ask them now on either BATC chat or on the YouTube chat, and I'll read as many as I can to Graham. So let's just start with you with some comments, really. I mean, lots of compliments, to be honest, about your products here. The first one I saw was from Steve, M700R. The BHI desktop speaker is a brilliant device. Currently on the IC7610, works well on FTM for VHF and FM2. And several other people have used various products. I won't go into every one of those and read them. You can see them yourself on the YouTube chat in particular.
Thank you.
One of the questions I was going to ask you, Graham, if I might, though, is that when you started this in 2002, I think,
yes,
radios were not quite sophisticated, and they certainly weren't, probably weren't any SDR type radios, so not as much computing power inside that does stuff. But now, 2025, most radios that come out have got a lot of computing power. They are SDR. And wouldn't a lot of those be able to do a lot of what your products would do inside automatically?
It's a good question. And yes, we do keep our eyes and listen. And some of the radios, the real high-end radios, have got noise cancelling that's pretty good. What I do know and have understood from these gentlemen that operate those, you do need to know your radio, and it does take some working out. I don't think many of the radios have got the same type of noise cancelling as ours, which works on a sort of speech extraction technique. So even though the radios have got noise cancelling, I'm still finding, and this is not me speaking, this is feedback from customers that are buying our products now, is that they still tend to use our noise cancelling because the noise cancelling in the radio isn't as good, and they're just happy sticking one of our units in and knowing it will work.
Yes, I mean, indeed, Steve M700R, who just made that compliment about his IC7610, that's quite a new-ish radio. It's a fairly high-end radio as well. So if he finds it useful, I guess it does still have its place with modern radios, as well as you say, you can retrofit them. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say we're not slightly worried about AI. Who wouldn't be? It's there, it's everywhere. What I would say is, undoubtedly the software's out there that could do what we do, but to put it in a physical product, to take it to market, to build it, to get the spec, it's not as easy as it seems. You may be able to connect your radio to the output of a computer where you've got your AI, but sometimes it's just not practical.
Yeah, no, that's not something I'd heard of yet, although AI is coming to everything now, isn't it?
Another thing I forgot to mention, anyone who's listening tonight, we have got, if you did want to buy something from us as a result of hearing what you've heard tonight, you can use a code in uppercase, Tonight 8, and there's a 10% discount off our products up until the 5th of November, or you can just phone me up or email me.
Okay, all right, thank you, Graham. Are your products unique? In that, you do say that you sell quite a lot abroad as well.
They are unique.
I haven't seen anything similar.
The way they work, because there were a number of companies, people look around and we've sort of seen them off. There was SGC back in the sort of mid 2010 up to 2007-8. In fact, that's a funny story. They tried to copy our speaker and went to where we bought them in the Netherlands, and then phoned us up and said, we want to buy your company. Oh, do you? Yeah, what do you want to do? Yeah, we're going to buy your company and shut it down. Would you like to do that? No, you're all right, thanks.
Well,
that
okay,
was SGC.
Yeah, well, they're not here to defend themselves, so probably shouldn't talk about that anymore. But
it was just interesting.
Yeah, of course, and it could be flattering, something like that. But obviously what you're doing is quite unique and quite hard to copy from what you just mentioned. Do you have any way of protecting the IP? And everybody, when I used to run a business, everybody was always asking, do you have patents on that? But as you know, patents are expensive, very time-consuming processes. So how do you protect what you do?
No, we don't. What we do have is the unique software that we use to do what we do, and it's not patented. That was the key thing. If ever I'd gone on Dragon's Den, I wouldn't have got an offer from anyone because I've got no patents. But what I have got as a business, entrepreneurial, and we just know what customers want, and we're still going strong after 23 years.
Absolutely, that says a lot as well, Graham. Michael 2E0MKH says, my radio already has a noise reduction function. How is the BHI system different? And why don't the radio manufacturers use your chip? That's a very good question, isn't it? Have you been approached, maybe?
So, most of the DSP you get in the radios is slightly different. And I showed you that graph earlier where you had the frequency loss on some of the audio. And ours is just basically a speech extraction, and probably the best type of noise cancelling, because you are storing the speech as it is and removing the noise. So the speech in real time is moving through across the whole frequency spectrum. So your resultant speech is still as good as you can hear. It's not been altered in any way. Back in the early days of BHI, we sent units to Yaesu. And they just wanted to offer us peanuts. They said, "Oh yeah, we want to use your chip." But no, over the years, people just want something for nothing, or didn't offer us the right price to be able to fit it in their radios. It's as simple as that, really.
No, I understand. Okay, well, it's good, and you're still here, obviously, and selling lots of radios. Graham G8NWC says, with a great loss of hearing range, the ParaPro EQ20 enables me to adjust all suitable for me rather than the standard hearing loss algorithm. Great products, and the demo sells them, he says.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Graham. It's one of those things where you have a conversation with someone special like Giles, and from a seed you think, well, do you know what, I'm going to listen to what he's told me and we're going to develop a product, and we did. So and it was for that reason, for hearing loss.
Steve M700R, going back to him, he was very complimentary of he uses your products with his 7610, and he asks, with so many SDRs now using network audio, do you see BHI evolving from standalone boxes to a network service or plug-in architecture?
Well, it's funny, my engineer who I talk to, I've got a design engineer I've used for years, we're good friends. We've been talking about new products, and it's something we'll probably talk about. We make a list of things, both of us, the new technologies, where should we be going, what can we do? So we have got some new products that will be coming out. We want to go on we haven't done anything for about 3 or 4 years, so we've got some new products hopefully going to come out in the next sort of short period of time.
Good. Well,
regarding the networking thing, I probably need to look into it a bit more, and maybe it'd be nice to have a bit more information about what that entails, and that will be useful.
Okay, well, Steve, if you want to get in touch directly with Graham, I think we shared his email address earlier.
That would be brilliant.
Easily be in touch. Maybe you'd like to get directly in touch with you.
Definitely.
Another question, especially with people who have hearing loss and hearing issues. This is from GI0AZA. Sorry, I don't have your name there. Is Bluetooth direct to hearing aids a possibility for people with severe and profound loss? This would be a great benefit.
At the moment, we haven't got anything with Bluetooth to transmitting technology, but we are developing a new product that will have Bluetooth on the output. So in answer to his question, I'm hoping that will pair with his Bluetooth headphones, because Bluetooth hearing aids. I've got Bluetooth hearing aids. So I'm hoping that, we'll be able to do something. So hopefully 2026 we'll have a product that he could use.
And I guess, although we'd hope that nobody would have hearing problems and hearing loss, but wearing hearing aids does seem to be, something that a lot of older people would have. And indeed, you said yourself you have hearing aids. So I guess this does make you quite a good sort of subject to actually identify needs for something for people who do have hearing problems.
Definitely. It's sort of something I've had on the drawing board for about 5 or 6 years, is a unit that we could, what I call a headphone unit, and then with the lightweight technology's gone, and with the battery technology, something very portable that you could charge up. So yeah, we've got something in the pipeline. I won't spill the beans too much, but the basic design sort of has been sort of brief has been written, and we're now looking at how we can put it into practice as quickly as possible.
Good. Well, that sounds really good. Someone's mentioned, will this be in time for Santa? Possibly not, from what you've just said, but maybe Santa next year.
I mean, I might, if my engineer does what I hope he does and gets his skates on, I could have a prototype, but we'll see.
All right.
It's a bit tight.
It is a bit tight, all right. But thanks for sharing that with us. Anyway, we really appreciate that.
Easter.
Yeah. Okay. Just of interest, because you touched on some of your commercial products. So there's obviously other things you sell, but what is roughly the proportion of sales, not in monetary terms, but in terms of units? Is amateur radio your biggest market?
Over 50% now is commercial.
Over 50% is commercial.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of units. Wow, that's
in terms of DSP units. I would say yeah. We've got a contract with the air traffic control, and we've got 160 units to shift in December. As opposed to one amateur radio sale. So yeah.
No, it's good, and it's good to have many strings to your bow as well. As I said, for many years I was in business, and I had to diversify in the end to a different market just to make you rigid. Now, I believe as well, a lot of these products, or most of them, you design yourself, or you have it with a designer in the UK as well, which is also unusual.
Yes.
And what about manufacturing?
Everything's pretty much built and designed and manufactured in the UK now. We did for a few years have the most popular speaker manufactured in China, but over sort of period of Brexit and then COVID, the cost of manufacturing it just went up through the roof. So I found a nice place in the south east of the UK on the coast that a great price, you know, and they do a great job. So
Excellent.
yeah, keep it in the UK. That's what I say.
Absolutely, that's what I used to say as well with my business. Great. Another good question here from A Stone. Sorry, again, I don't have your first name. How does the unit perform with broadcast stations or music, like on medium wave and shortwave?
So that's interesting. The issue with music is effectively you'll find that we say in a few places it's not that good with music. And that is because it's purely looking for a speech in the algorithm in the heart of the DSP, and that 0.6 modulated waveform. So anything else, it's effectively thinking, oh, that's noise. So you could probably get away with an old 78 record that's crackly and level 1 noise cancelling will clean it up a bit. But then effectively, if you're listening to music and you have the filter level on, it will sound weird. And the bigger the filter level, the more it'll sound weird because it's trying to remove the music.
Yes, I guess it would do, wouldn't it? It's like when we demonstrated this, when we did a technical rehearsal the other day, we had to make sure Zoom has a very effective filters, and we were worried, and indeed it did, didn't it? It just took away all of those sounds. So, you know, it did, but I think we showed it quite openly. That we're almost running out of questions now. Just going back to people with hearing loss, of course, that can apply to all ages as well. It's not just something for older people, all sorts of people with hearing loss.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of making something that was not just for amateur radio, but was maybe quite portable and could fit in and people take around with them to help them with their hearing? That's another market, really. But have you ever considered doing something like that?
Not really. One of the things we looked at in the past, because people said to me, oh, people with hearing loss, hearing aids, it's such a volume market. We just wouldn't have, you know, it was just something we stayed away from. We decided, because we didn't have any patents, we were going to stay below the radar so no one copied us and come up with unique products quickly to market as a small business can. But yeah, what we sort of, it's something we could look at. I don't know, you're talking about something that they could use.
Well, I suppose I'm thinking of
environment.
Yeah, I suppose
like they're in a noisy state on the train.
I'm thinking of maybe a little sort of pocket type of unit that could maybe, you know, be picking up regular sounds in somewhere like, just as you say, like a train or a plane, where you've got a lot of high background noises that maybe could filter out that noise and then just filter in people's speech and things to hearing aids, especially if you're going to be developing Bluetooth. Just an idea.
Yeah, it's something, you know, we could look at. I mean, I know my hearing aids I've got here. I got. They've got a noise cancelling mode, so when I'm out and about at restaurants or in a noisy, especially at a show, if I'm talking at Newark, I set them to noise cancelling and they work really well at cutting out. So a lot of hearing aids do have, noise cancelling now that's very good.
Well, more power to you, Graham. It's great to hear of a company that's not only survived but thrived in the last 20 odd years, bringing innovative products to the market which are still relevant. Great to hear as well that you do this all with British design and British manufacturer as well.
Yeah.
As I said, I haven't seen a single complaint or anything critical of you at all, so you're obviously doing a great job, and we really do look forward to these new products when they arrive.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for listening and thank everyone for supporting us for all these years. We try to sort out people. There are people that make have problems, and the way we handle it is, we sort it out. There's no messing about. There's no other way to do it really. We make mistakes odd times. I don't get back on emails and I apologise. I say I made a mistake, and you hold your hands up, and people respect truth and honesty if you've made a mistake.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, thank you very much for all that you're doing in the world, particularly for people with hearing problems as well, because you're really helping improve their quality of life and enjoying this hobby more as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's the feedback we get from people. I didn't say it earlier on today in the presentation, but I've had people actually say to me that my products they found, and it's allowed them to carry on with their hobby where they wouldn't before. Someone at Newark said that to me, and it's nice when you get that feedback.
Absolutely, that's the greatest compliment. Graham, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we are, and that does conclude this webinar, and a thanks once again to Graham Somerville, M3ZGS of BHI, and also thanks to the team who work on this webinar series behind the scenes. We hope you've enjoyed this Tonight at 8 and that you'll be able to join us next time. We'll be looking back at the Youngsters on the Air summer camp from this year, and also find out what's next for young people with the RSGB youth team. If you'd like to see details of future webinars or watch recordings of previous programmes in the series, please visit rsgb.org/webinars, where you can also send us comments and feedback. And if you subscribe to the RSGB's YouTube channel, you'll be notified of all upcoming Tonight at 8 webinars, as well as other new videos and presentations from the Society on a wide range of amateur radio topics. Thanks for joining us this evening, and until next time, this is David G7URP signing off and clear. Bye-bye.